Innovation and science. We met again in Boca. We spoke together, pardon. So we are launching a tour together. Next year maybe some exotic cruiser. Good evening, everybody. It's really my pleasure, and I'm excited to speak with you tonight on the occasion of the Independence Day of Israel. And the name of the talk, the speech that I say, it's written here, it's flying through challenges and still dreaming big for Israel. Now, this takes me approximately 1.5 hours. So, so I was asked to shrink it to 10, 12 minutes. So I'm using papers, excuse me for that. Otherwise, it will take me that time. So, first of all, I said yesterday at home, I live I was in Israel yesterday. I live exactly between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, in a little place called Lapid near Modi'in. And there was a big fire there and a lot of smoke over my head. And I thought to myself, I'm flying tonight, I'm going to speak with people about the state of Israel. I'm going to speak with the people about congratulations while we are at war, as like the Consul General said. The hostages right now there, we are torn apart. So how can I do it when our home is in danger? And then it happened. Our home, Nash-Dom. Exactly. We share the same home, whether you live in the United States, whether your ancestors came from Russia. By the way, I also origins in Russia, so maybe you will accept me to this organization. So I'm going to talk about myself, my history, and our home, and how I can see this all mixed together for a better future. So Nash-Dom is the thing. I'm taking you back approximately 57 years ago when I was 9 years old, more or less. 1967, I was 99 years old, and my mother took me to optician. Till then I knew nothing about my future. Now that optician checked my eyesight and said, hey kid, you are short-sighted, it will not affect your future, but you will not be a pilot. So from that now on, I knew that one thing for sure, I was not going to be a pilot, because an old man, maybe 30 years old, told me so. Fast forward to 10 years later, I was 19 years old, and I was very surprised to be called to the flight school, the Israeli Air Force, and then I learned for the first time, never trust people that tell you what you cannot be. Never trust them. Don't. And it took me a lot of time to realize it. By the way, I wrote the book about it, unfortunately in Hebrew. So if you read Hebrew, I have 2 copies here. I can give it to you, or I can give it to you if you want. So, in Israel, people always tell us what we cannot do, what we cannot be. Well, don't believe them. We just try harder, we try different ways, we try to do things differently, and eventually we created this miracle called Israel, and we keep it until today. But my flight school was not a straight line, I have to tell you. I'm not the guy that, in flying colors just flew through the flying course. Let me give you one simple anecdote. Stop me if I'm talking too much. And in the flight school, at a certain point, there is a really big major stone in which you are flying sort of. There was a twin jet called Fuga Magister, and I was training to fly the first time in my life alone in a plane. So it's happening in the 18th flight, in which the examiner in the backseat tells if you are free to fly. Well, I did. So no big deal, they give you another 18 flight. It's called 18 Aleph. Many of us didn't make it even on 18 Aleph, so we got 18 vet. I got also 18 Gimel, and Dalet, and Hey, and Vav, and Zayin and Chet. Approximately, no, exactly 18 flights after the 18th flight, I got my soul. I think this record has never been broken since then, but I continued, and eventually I got my pilot suite against all odds, and I became a fighter pilot. Now I started to be a fighter pilot, and we start low in a basic plane, which doesn't exist anymore in Israel. It's called Skyhawk, the A-4. And after a couple of years, I came to my base commander and asked him, I want to fly better planes. So he told me, you know, when I was a little boy, the base commander, I wanted to play a violin. And I started to play and it didn't work, so I did not become a violinist. And like you, you're not going to fly any other plane other than the Skyhawk. But guess what? 5 years later, I started to fly F-16s, which I flew for eventually 15 more years, the total 25 years, which I served as a fighter pilot in the Air Force. Now, as I was introduced, I was also the head of international affairs, and we launched in 1996 the cooperation between Israel and the United States in what is later to be called the Theater Missile Defense Cooperation, which flourished lately when we intercepted all the attacks from Iran. So it started in 1996 when I was the most junior officer in a delegation to the Pentagon. I was only a lieutenant colonel. They were all generals. And the American generals told us, guys, and we know that there is an executive order to share the early warning of launching missiles with Israel by the end of the year, but now it's July and nothing happens in the United States between July and December. So forget about it, it will take more time. And I was the most junior officer there in the Pentagon, and my counterpart was a colonel, again, the most junior one. And I stood up and said, guys, I just want to share with you what I had yesterday at home before leaving. Actually, before yesterday. I sat with my 3 daughters. Now I have 5, by the way, 5 daughters, but then I had only 3. And we rehearsed the time that takes them to get to the shelter in case of a siren, of a missile attack, before I left the United States. So we are not talking about protocols and agreements and whatever is needed. We are talking about time for my daughters to reach the shelter in case Saddam Hussein at that time is launching missiles. So I urge you guys to try harder. The generals looked at me, and I don't think that they understood why a lieutenant colonel dares to speak there. But the colonel that stood there took me outside to the center of the Pentagon. I don't know if you know, there is a little garden there. It's called Ground Zero Cafe. He sat there with me and he said, Alon, look at my eyes and read my lips. By Christmas this time, Israel is going to have shared early warning. I promise it to you and to your daughters. Well, he was wrong. It was before that. Because once he explained it to his soldiers, his subordinates, they worked harder and they made it happen. And up until now, in the Kiryat in Tel Aviv, in the headquarters, there is, don't tell anybody, it's a secret actually, maybe, there is an early warning that it comes directly from the United States in case people are launching anything against us. So things happen. And we don't have time, I can tell you about my experience with the Palestinians back in 97. Still, I was going in the morning to Gaza Strip to speak with them. and I found people that were willing to listen, that were looking at finding security. But now we are all messed up, so I will not talk about it. I still need you to let me get out of it. So fast forward for today, we are now in Israel in a lot of pain, anger, grief. We just had the Memorial Day yesterday. These are the worst or the most challenging or difficult times in Israel ever since I remember. And many people are looking at us and say, hey, is there any hope? Maybe this is the end of the Zionist dream. And I would have to tell you now from the eyes of a pilot. I flew through storms. In storms, you have to look forward. You have to look far forward, not for the next few miles. You have to look very far away, to be steady, to hold the stick, and to navigate your way until you reach your destination. Yes, guys, the council said that we did have enemies in the past. We had very bad enemies. And the Jews were always divided, not only today. Don't let them tell you that only today we are divided. No, we were divided in the times of the Bible. And we knew how to survive. And that's where we have to make sure that we know that we have to keep going for our home, for Nash-Dom. We have to keep going. We have to keep building the country. It's not yet built. We are only starting it. 77 years are not the lifespan of a country like we look at it. So today we are not celebrating 77 years of survival. We are still in the process. I am personally not celebrating anything until the 59 Cessna are back. But I am acknowledging the big achievement of the state of Israel. I am acknowledging the bravery of the people that are fighting and fought throughout the years. And I call upon all of you to come to Israel, to support Israel, to be a part of our home. Thank you very much.